Hello and welcome back to some Dark Souls PvP invasion action. It's been a little while. I've taken a little bit of a break from Dark Souls for a while. I was getting rather frustrated with the remaster and its PvP. It was weird in the first couple of weeks. Obviously, you guys saw my videos. I was all over it, and I loved it. I thought it was the best thing ever, and I was, really enjoying taking a break from 3 and enjoying the whole new invasion system and stuff. But sort of eventually, after I started PvPing at sort of the higher levels, as close towards the meta, my attitude towards the game really soured, and sort of all the the quirks of that game really started to bug me and get my back up and stuff. So I've come back. I came back to Dark Souls 3 in the past week, and I've been doing a hell of a lot of invading in there. And very surprising, it's so very active even now. I would have thought everyone would have moved over to the remaster, but still loads of almost no waiting between invasions, still getting lots of multi-man invasions, really good stuff. So I've really been enjoying that. So I wanted to make a sort of, I know lots of Souls tubers have made sort of their thoughts on the remaster video. I know Raven Ash did a really good one. I've been enjoying I Am Amish's sort of continued thoughts on the game and watching his videos. So I wanted to give my opinion on some of the points that those guys have brought up and the points that the community have brought up as a whole. There was one thing that I've been thinking about a lot with regards to the sort of the way invasions work in this remaster, and that is how FromSoft originally envisioned invasions back when this game and the game before Demon Souls came out, and the reason why this game has such huge spikes in balance. And I get the feeling, I might be wrong, obviously correct me if I'm wrong, that they never envisioned invasions or PvP in general in Dark Souls 1 or Demon Souls to be as huge and like so much of a big deal as people made it. I guess that they saw that the invasion mechanic as being sort of just a tertiary activity, a little sort of a gimmick, to give the game a slight uniqueness, something that players will mess around with for a little while, but wouldn't dedicate their entire online playtime to it like most of us are doing. And I say this basically because I don't know about Demon Souls because I never played that game, but in Dark Souls 1, invasions are gated incredibly late game. Like, if you want to do invasions, you have to you have to get all the way to sort of the Lord Vessel, and you have to have defeated the 4 kings. Well, you don't have to get the Lord Vessel to get the 4 kings, but for all intents and purposes, you have to get the Lord Vessel, you have to get to Anor Londo, you have to do all that, and then you have to have not talked to Frampt for the entire time you've been playing the game to beat the 4 kings, and then talk to Karth in order to join the Dark Wraiths. So, like, they never anticipated that people would do. I don't think they anticipated that people would do runs through the entirety of the game in order to get that red eye orb to be able to invade. It just seems to me that they just had that as sort of like a little gimmick to give the game a certain uniqueness, and I think that's the reason why the game is balanced or not balanced, sort of the way that it is. They've got these huge spikes in brokenness for like Darkbead, for example. There's so many easy ways to get a really cheesy one-shot build to be able to wipe people off the face of the earth in this game, and that is probably the reason why they never balanced the game, because they never saw invasions as being a big deal. They didn't really see any need to change the mechanics between the PvE and the PvP. But when From Software realised that people were taking PvP quite seriously, and that this was one of the major attractions to this game series that they've created, then in the sequels 2 and 3 especially really went out of their way to make concessions and for the PvP community in order to make I know PvP has never been balanced in any Souls game, and that's fine. I'm not looking for fucking Street Fighter Souls. Like, there's always stuff that's wrong with Dark Souls PvP, and that's fine. But they made a hell of a lot more concessions and made a lot more. They did a lot more balancing of the invasion system in the sequels than they ever did in one. In one, people had to make do with what they had, and that was fine for then. But now that we've had it sort of like, I guess I want to say we've had it better now with Dark Souls 2 and 3, but you know, things being better is, you know, in the eye of the beholder really. And I know there's a lot of Dark Souls 1 purists who would argue that, you know, it's just been a downhill ride from Dark Souls 1, and PvP has gotten worse for that. But for me, at least, it's been done better now. The concessions that they made to make the PvP more accessible, basically, and yeah. So anyway, so it leads on to the next point that I really wanted to make, and sort of the two games demonstrate the two kinds of play styles that you can adopt for your invasions. I'm not talking about builds or your weapon selection and all that stuff. I'm talking about there's two basic play styles that you will do invasions in both games. I'm going to talk about Dark Souls 1 and I'm going to talk about Dark Souls 3. I'm not talking about 1. I'm not talking about 2. It's going to be 1 and 3. So there's two ways you can go about invasions. There is burst damage or there is attrition. Those are the two ways that invasions are fought. Either you rock up and you fucking one-shot someone, either through Chaos Dagger reposts in the case of Dark Souls 3, or, you know, Hornet Ring, Great Club Backstab in Dark Souls 1, or, you know, fucking Dark Sorcery in Dark Souls 1, or anything in Dark Souls 1 that can fucking one-shot you. Or you can have a war of attrition, as you can demonstrate. Yeah, I've got it. This clip here of Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 3 does attrition very well. There are very few ways in order to do burst damage in 3. So the majority of your invasions are going to be attrition based. This is not the case for Dark Souls 1. I found for most, I mean, you can force the game to play it the way you want. You can force Dark Souls 3 to be a burst damage game. You know, you get your dark build with your Chaos Dagger, and you can fucking one shot people with reposting. But aside from doing that and glass cannoning, I mean, there are a few like true combos that can do fuck tons of damage, like the twin axes and stuff, but there's a very small selection of ways to do really good burst damage in Dark Souls 3, whereas in Dark Souls 1 it's very much burst damage orientated. I mean, again, you could force Dark Souls 1 to play like play a war of attrition. Like, I know Saint is very much doing that with his invasions and stuff, and that's fine. Like, if that's how you get the game to work for you, that's great. But the game really lends itself, Dark Souls 1 lends itself to burst damage and doing lots of damage really, really quickly, and there's numerous ways you can do that. And because sort of, you know, backstabs and poise, the passive poise system are so sort of accessible and quite bare bones, basic and stuff. I mean, I've heard people say that the poise mechanic is quite complex, and in 1 it's really not. It's like there's one table with listing all the breakpoints and stuff, and you meet the certain breakpoints, and you can, you know, if you've met that breakpoint, you can swing through one swing of that, or two swings, etc., etc., etc. And so with the mechanics being the way that it is, you doing burst damage in 1 is really sort of the way a lot of people win invasions, and is the way that ganks go about winning their ganks, is by doing burst damage, having really cheesy one-trick pony, dart bead, Hornet Ring, Great Club, etc., 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 in order to wipe off the face of the earth. So, what's my point in all this? Well, it just comes down to what you enjoy about invasions in Dark Souls games. If you enjoy being super powerful and doing lots and lots of burst damage and wiping people off the face of the earth really quickly, then Dark Souls 1 you'll enjoy that game a lot more. If you enjoy attrition-based combat where sort of fights go on for a lot longer, and you end up fighting, you know, the party through the entire level, then you'll get on with Dark Souls 3 a lot more. See, it's hard for me to be objective about this because I'm so heavily invested in 3 at this point. I mean, 3 was where I cut my teeth on Dark Souls 3 PvP. Sorry, I cut my teeth on Dark Souls PvP in general, and that's what I know. That's all I know, basically. And coming back to Dark Souls 1, I found it very difficult to try and adapt my playstyle in order to fit the needs of that game, and I think that lends comes into another point that I wanted to make, is the reason that we as Dark Souls 3 players are having such fucking grief for this game. Is one of the reasons is that we're setting too high a bar for ourselves. From what I've experienced from when I've been playing it, I went to Dark Souls 1 Remastered Invasions feeling that I was going to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of gum. Because I'm pretty good at Dark Souls 3 PvP. I'm pretty good at Dark Souls 3 Invasions. I will win about 90% of my invasions against randoms. And when I went to Dark Souls 1 PvP, I expected that to carry over. I felt that all the skills were going to be transferable, and that, you know, it will be a bit slower and a bit clunkier, but basically it's the same game. But it's not. It's completely fucking different. It's night and day. You can see in these clips here, like the things you can get away with in 1, and the things you can get away with in 3 are completely different. And so setting that high bar for myself meant that I was setting myself up for a massive fall, which is one of the reasons I got so frustrated with the game. And I mean, there's a lot to complain about with Dark Souls 1 PvP. There is a fuck ton to complain about, and don't get me wrong, you should absolutely complain about it. But I'm guessing the most of my whinging and complaining comes from setting myself up to fall, because I felt that I was going to do better than I actually did. And it's nice to see Omish's videos. He's sort of admitting, he's really struggling with Dark Souls 1 Invasions, and I'm right there with you, buddy. I'm fucking right there with you. It's such a different kettle of fish. I mean, Omish was a fantastic player in 3. Like, he would fucking, when we fought, he would whoop my ass steady. But we are both basically average at best in this game, which is very interesting to think. So yeah, we've set ourselves up to fail as Dark Souls 3 players, and that's fine. There's still a lot to complain about with 1, but we set too much of a higher bar for ourselves. So one of the things where a lot of people have been saying the invasion system in this game is broken, and in many aspects, yes. Either it is too fucking easy to invade, and you will obliterate PvE players. Unlike in Dark Souls 3, if you were a decent PvE player in Dark Souls 3, you could stand a decent chance of holding your own against an invader. You'll lose, but it'll be a more interesting fight. It'll last a bit longer. Whereas this one, if you're even moderately switched on to how to abuse poise and abuse the backstab system, you will just fucking annihilate people. So it's either too easy on the side of the invaders, or it's too fucking hard, because of the extra phantom that people have been given, and that co-op is now, everyone is fucking co-oping because the game is so popular. Anything more than you need to be able to get away, disengage, and make space between you and the party, and that is so fucking difficult in Dark Souls 1 because of the way backstabs and rolling and everything works. So you just fucking, it almost becomes impossible. If you're getting surrounded by phantoms in 1, you might as well just fucking lay down and die. Unless you have WOG or something to do AoE damage, you're fucked basically. Unlike in 3, where you can dodging is so much easier in 3. You could fucking work your way out of a corner, and you could fucking make space, you can heal, and then you could recollect yourself to go back to the party. Not so much in 1. And so, I would say that the invasion system in 1 is a lot more broken than it is in 3, in my opinion. But I realise the exquisite irony of me saying that, given that when Dark Souls 3 released, that was what people were complaining about. That, oh, Dark Souls 3 invasions are so fucking broken. Oh, it was so much better in 1. Oh, fuck Dark Souls 3. Oh, I can't believe this shit was allowed to slide and stuff. So I realised the irony of what people are, of what I'm saying. That I say Dark Souls 1 invasions are broken and Dark Souls 3 is better. So, that irony is not lost to me. So don't worry. And it was a case of, once we got used to the system in Dark Souls 3, we all started to enjoy it a hell of a lot more. I mean, it's still difficult as hell, but we learned how to make the game work for us, and how to, get around the ganks and the R1 spam and all the things people complain about. And I'm guessing that give this game a few more months, there'll be a more vibrant invader community that doesn't rely on the cheesy one-shot builds, and we'll be able to make builds and use techniques that we never thought we could use, like the turn and burn in 3. The fucking standby turn and burn, God bless the turn and burn, is fucking useless in 1. Turn and burns are fucking useless. Because of poise, you turn and burn, and you just get poise fucking backstabbed. So fuck turn and burns. So there'll be stuff that we learn in order to deal with ganks more effectively, and I'm sure that will be the case. But as it stands at the moment, I'm pretty much done with 1. I've been enjoying 3 a hell of a lot more. I'll come back to it, and I found when I was playing 1, I found myself rage quitting so much, it was just embarrassing. I was like, I felt like I was forcing myself to play the game, and it's like, what if I'm not enjoying it? Why the fuck am I playing this game? I mean, really. Anyway, so on the subject of rage quitting, actually, I know a lot of people have mentioned that disconnecting has become more of a prevalent phenomenon in 1. I mean, that could be just because there's more people playing, and the people playing are mostly PvE players, whereas in 3 it's mostly PvP players that's still online. But, you know, I'm guessing the reason for the prevalence of disconnectors is because the PvP in 1 is so fucking brutal, especially to the uninitiated, that most people will know by reputation that they're just going to get fucking obliterated, so they'll just disconnect to save the trouble. And I don't know if there's a soft ban thing in place. I imagine there probably is, but because there's no bone of order or way of weight circular, there's no way to undo the ban. But anyway, but yeah, that's probably the reason why so many people are disconnecting, is because by Dark Souls invasions by reputation are fucking brutal. And if you get invaded at the Berg, or if you get anywhere before Sen's Fortress, you might as well fucking disconnect, because you will just die. Like like you don't stand any fucking chance if the invader has his build thought out and knows and has a sort of a half decent clue of what he's doing. He'll be able to absolutely fucking annihilate you. Like, early invasions are still fucking broken as shit. Like, you can be soul level 4 and have Dark Bead, and you can just go into the Berg and you go into the depths and you just fucking annihilate people, and there's no fun in that. I liked getting invaded in 3. I liked fighting Twinks in 3. I can't believe that people fucking complain about Twinks in Dark Souls 3. I tried to tell people on Reddit, hey, you don't like Twinks? Thank your lucky stars this is in Dark Souls 1, because you'll get fucking Dark Beaded at the Berg, and that's a pain in the ass. And like, that's not fun for anyone. I mean, it's fun for the invader, obviously. Like, you know, rocking up and feeling all powerful and one-shotting people. It must be fun, otherwise they wouldn't do it. But like, you just like you're there sitting there. Why the fuck am I even playing this game? Like, it obviously doesn't want me here. But then again, you know, oh, it's Dark Souls, get good, scrub. You know, all the be-all argument for every complaint about Dark Souls. Oh, just get good, casual. So anyway, the game. Why is it barely changed, and who is to blame for it? My guess is Bamco. Basically, I don't want to sit here and point fingers and be like, oh, well, it's your fault that the game is so shitty. Oh, why is this game so shitty? Oh, fuck this. No. I mean, it is what it is. I'm glad Dark Souls 1 Remastered exists. It was nice to go and romp round, and you get to appreciate, you know, the gold. Basically, Dark Souls is the gold standard of, you know, third-person action RPGs and world design. But then you also get to appreciate how all the sequels improved upon the formula in many aspects. I know some in the sequels 2 and 3 they missed out a lot of opportunity in order to, you know, try and replicate the feeling of exploration and the world design of 1, and that 1 still holds the fucking, you know, gold medal for that. But, you know, sort of the little ease of life things, and especially the mechanics and the PvP mechanics, they really improved that in the sequel. So I've appreciated that. So this remaster is basically Bamco's baby. I don't know how much involvement from having it, because I know it wasn't them who sort of did the touch-ups, and they you know, they did the frame rate and the textures that no one noticed. That was Q-Lock, I suppose. So I think that this is sort of the turd is laid at Bamco's door, really. And if you have any complaints about the game, you should really lay it at Bamco. My guessing is, though, like they were damned if they did and they damned if they don't. Really, if they had really substantially changed the way the PvP works in 1, they would have got a fuck ton of rage and complaints from the OG crowd about how they fucking destroyed the legacy of Dark Souls 1 and all manner of fucking loose, stupid shit like that. Oh, you fucking ruined the game. Oh, it was so good, and then you fucking took a massive turn. Bamco sucks. But then when they didn't do that much, and they said, you know, we'll just touch up the graphics and the textures and stuff, but we'll basically keep the game the same. Everyone was like, oh, well, I can't believe they didn't change anything. Oh, this is fucking ridiculous. So it was like they were going to lose either way. but there were still things that they could have done, and they may. I mean, it looks like From Software are in charge of patching this fucking game, because I think the patch notes came from for this first patch, but with all the bug fixes and stuff. So I'm holding out hope that there's going to be bug fixes in the game, because there's this stuff like, I know people have gone on about it, but the spawn points are fucking bullshit. The ability to camp the spawn is just, why was that ever allowed? It's just because it's not fun. Like, and it's like people say, "Oh, we'll just move on from it." You know, you laugh and you move on. It's like, well, one, it's not funny. Like, I don't think it's that funny. It's a waste of my time. And it's like, oh yeah, but it's only like a minute of your time. It's like, well, yeah, but it's a minute that I could be having fun. I play games to have fun, not to fucking sit there looking at loading screens. And when it's like 30% of the fights you get to, and you're being fucking spawn camped, then it's just like, fuck off. So anyway, these last two invasions, this one was probably one of the better gang spanks I got in Dark Souls Remastered, and the next one is one of my favourite gang spanks I got recently in Dark Souls 3. And you can see sort of how these play out. This is a very short invasion. Like, there's 3 people. You know, they're getting their fast weapons. You've got your fucking Ouroboros clone with his falchion and his grass crest shield, because, you know, he's fucking unoriginal, can't think of his own build. And you see just the ability to do really strong burst damage over time, over a short period of time. Like, and you'll compare it to how the invasion goes from Dark Souls 3, where it is very much a war of attrition. You know, you're fighting people across a wide area of the level. You're wearing down their Estus and stuff. Whereas this, it's like, what else could you do in this situation? I mean, you could say, oh, well, like, it's backstab or be backstabbed, basically. Backstab or get backstabbed. So you either get backstabbed or live long enough to become the backstabber. So I don't feel bad about this, really. Like, why? This is the way you win. Like, what was I going to do? Just let him fucking do that? Oh, be very honourable and just play non-backstabbing? No, fuck it. That's the way the game wants me to play. That's the way I'm going to play it. It's not. I don't find it that fun playing that way, because it's sort of, it lacks skill. I don't feel really accomplished when I do it, because it's like, well, I just walked up behind you and pressed R1 whilst you were looking away from me. There you go, done, won the game. So this is the last invasion. It just shows the polar difference between the games. I'll let this one play out. Thank you for listening to me ramble. I'm sorry, but it's very incoherent and lots of umming and ahhing, and it's all very improvised. I've got a basic list of things I wanted to talk about, but you know, I'm shit at improv. I always was. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you soon. I've got some new Dark Souls 3 videos coming out, and I'm sure I'll be back to Dark Souls Remastered soon. So thanks very much, guys. I'll see you again.